Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. If I sound a little different today, it's because I have a little thing on my throat. But the ICE car are dying faster than EVs are rising. But it will get worse, much worse. ICE will get a death blow much sooner than people realize, as we are not talking just about EV disrupting ICE. We have more innovations and social implications coming its way as well, that not many people are talking about, and it is happening much faster than anyone thought it would. And these innovations will make sure that Tesla's goal of 20 million cars per year is completely possible. And Tesla will likely not even stop there. And while the collapse of the ICE car and the industry as a whole will probably happen within this decade. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in. So, I will get back to the other innovations and social implications in just one moment. I will start by just looking at the ICE industry that is collapsing as we speak, and this year it will be very clear as Europe and China, that are about 60% of the entire car market, will both be above 30% plug-in market share this year. But this will continue to grow faster and faster as everyone is accelerating their EV plans, not slowing down. And from 2020 to 2021, the plug-in market share did double in size, and last year it still grew 60%, even though there was a supply chain issue in the entire industry and ICE fell 7%. It still grew 60%. And as I have shown before, it is impossible to slow the EV adoption down so much that it will only be 50% EV market share in 2030. If we slow it down to 50% compound annual growth going forward, we are looking about 50% EV adoption in 2025. Or if we say, okay, let's take it down to 40%. We still have 50% EV adoption sometime during 2025. Only 30% compound annual growth rate will still have 50% EV adoption during 2026. And 30% is half of the growth we saw last year. And everyone is speeding up. Remember, Ford and GM want to increase their production by 40 times from the numbers in 2022 to 2025 or 2026. Everyone is speeding up, and we have to slow it down to a ridiculous growth to be at 50% in 2030. This will simply not happen. But what will happen in 3 to 4 years when the legacy automakers suddenly have lost 50% of their profitable business? We can't just cut the ICE industry in half and not expect huge implications because of that, when demand will be cut in half a decade earlier than what the legacy automakers was anticipating. Yes, the price of an ICE car will rise, as we see it already is. Average price of a car in the US is rising fast, and spare parts are going to rise in price as well as demand falls. Gasoline will rise in price, and gas stations will start to disappear, as we already see they're doing in Norway. So the range anxiety will be something that will be starting to be true for the ICE car and no longer EVs. That will mean less demand, which again will mean higher prices. Economy of scale works both ways. So yes, ICE cars will become increasingly expensive while EVs will become cheaper, and in 2 to 4 years they will no doubt be the cheapest option. But the real game changer will of course be transport as a service. Autonomy will be the last nail in the coffin for the ICE industry, as it will be cheaper to have transport as a service, a car on demand, whenever you need it, than just the operating cost of keeping your old ICE car alive you already own. This will make sure that nobody even wants to own their ICE car. And that is what people are forgetting. We are not just talking about the new car sale market. We are talking about replacing all 2.5 billion cars on the road today. The new car market could grow to new highs, maybe 100 million or more a year. But when we have robotaxis, that growth could become almost endless. So Tesla selling 20 million cars does not mean that they will sit on 40% of the car market. It could easily just be 20% of the car market, or even less. But when robotaxis come into the picture, that will just change everything, as transport as a service could become much cheaper than even operating an ICE car you already own. Let just that sink in for a moment. Just think about if you work in the big city and pay for parking and gasoline of a 30-mile trip every day, what that will cost you, and then realize that robotaxi can drive you from anywhere to anywhere within San Francisco for less than $2. But there are more factors that will speed this up. Especially in Europe, I think it will go much faster than anyone is counting on, as here air pollution in our cities that are killing our children does play a big role. It will at some point become socially unacceptable to drive these disgusting cars anywhere. According to the EU Environmental Agency, 1,200 children die every year in Europe because of air pollution from our transportation sector, and increase the risk of chronic disease later in life. The level of key air pollutants in many European countries remains stubbornly above World Health Organization's guidelines. This will make sure that it will become socially unacceptable to drive these polluting child killers in our cities. People will look at you as a killer if you drive these polluting things into a school or kindergarten's parking lot, spitting out toxic gases and harmful particles in the face of our children. That is not going to be accepted for much longer. But what about cobalt and children dying because of the mining? Yes, when we have robotaxis, range in an EV does not really matter anymore. So all of these robotaxis will of course be using LFP batteries or sodium batteries that do not use any cobalt. So that stupid argument will be completely gone, but they will still be using cobalt in the oil industry to remove sulfur from the crude oil. And they will probably also still be using it in your phone or computer or tablet or whatever you watch this on right now. But there is also a whole thing about safety. A Tesla with autopilot is already 9 times safer than a human driver without autopilot. So if the whole world's fleet had Tesla's safety assist feature right now that scores 98% with Europe NCAP, we would save about 900,000 lives every year, as there are about 1.25 million people that die every year in traffic. Not with full self-driving cars, just the safety assist feature Tesla has today. So that is why I also say that as soon as full self-driving is solved, it will quickly be approved around the world, as we have the data to show how much safer it is, because full self-driving cars will in the end even be much safer than a human with autopilot, and it will save thousands of lives in your country. So of course your government is going to push for this. But not just because of safety, because one of the biggest things about transport as a service is the boost it will give to the state or country's economy, as the majority will probably no longer buy a car, but just have a car on demand, saving them thousands of dollars every year. Money that goes back into the country's economy and will be spent on other things than just a single car and its maintenance. According to Rethink and Tony Saber's calculation, the average person would save close to $6,000. So, on that fact alone, many countries are going to want robotaxis as fast as possible, because it will boost their economy. So if Norway gets it, you can bet your money that both Sweden and Denmark will follow very soon, as they can see the wealth it will bring to the country.
Now that would be the biggest boost in the economy ever in history. And on top of that, because we're not going to drive and we're going to do other stuff while not driving, that's an additional $1 trillion in economic gains.
But this is also one of the big things people don't talk about when we look at the disruption of the ICE industry. It is not just an electric car that will disrupt an ICE car, but autonomy will accelerate this so fast that you don't even want to keep the ICE car you already own. And I do believe we will see this also during this decade. Because when we look at Tesla's full self-driving beta testers driving around and know that is a neural network that is learning how to drive, so we know its learning will be exponential, so I can not in my wildest dreams see how we will not have full self-driving cars this decade. Elon think it will be solved this year, as he always does, but someone like Ark Invest think it will be around 2026 or 2027. Other things next year, others 28. But it doesn't really matter when it will be solved, only that it will be solved and solved much earlier than people think. And we know data is king when it comes to teaching an AI system anything. And Tesla has an unassailable lead when it comes to data collecting. Just Tesla's beta testers collect as many miles driven a day as someone like Waymo has collected their entire lifetime in autonomous vehicles. There is no competition here. But if we believe that sometime during the next 5 years, robotaxis will become a thing and we get transport as a service where you don't own a car but just summon it on demand, and there might be people that will never do that, sure, but the majority will, and that is all that matters, because it will become so cheap to have access to a car that almost everyone on the planet will be able to get access to a car. As Tony Seba has said, transport as a service will be about 4 times cheaper than just keeping the car you already own in operations. I know I said this many times, but I'm going to say it again because this is a very important point. Because it's very expensive to keep a car alive with insurance, gas, maintenance, parking, and so on and so on. And all of these things will actually get more expensive as demand will no longer keep up with the supply of gasoline and spare parts, as many suppliers will go bankrupt as a consequence of the ICE business being cut in half over the next 5 years. So this will do 2 things. Well, I think it will change a lot of things in our society, but 2 main things when it comes to our transportation sector. It will boost the demand for vehicles, as now a lot of people that didn't use a car before because they couldn't afford it now can. And it will also make ICE cars completely obsolete, as transport as a service will maybe be something 4, maybe even 10 times cheaper than keeping your old car alive, even if you own it. So combine that with the ICE car will be socially unacceptable in many places, and the EVs in only a couple of years will even be cheaper to buy than an ICE car, and the true cost of ownership is much cheaper as well. So even without autonomy, EVs will be far the cheapest option in only a couple of years. So at that point, the new car sales of ICE cars are completely dead, as nobody wants to buy one. But at the same time, the fleet of 2.5 billion cars on the road today will suddenly also be disrupted because of autonomy, as people that are not financially strong but need a car and therefore have a crappy unsafe ICE car they still use a lot of money to keep alive will suddenly get rid of their ICE car because it will be cheaper for them to just have a car on demand. And this will also free up time for the parents, as the car can take the kids to school. You don't even have to. So this will disrupt the entire fleet of cars on the road today. So this is why I say demand for new car sales will be increasing from below 70 million today to maybe 100 million or even more. So this is why I think Tesla's goal of 20 million EVs by 2030 is very possible, as demand for cars will not be limited to the people that can afford to buy a new car today. It will be the entire fleet of 2.5 billion cars that people don't even want to own anymore. They want the robotaxi that is cheaper for them, and they can get work done while driving. It is a win-win-win. This will take on like wildfire. So demand will pretty much be endless until we have replaced the entire fleet of ICE cars and saturated the market with autonomous vehicles. So I think Tesla will not even stop at 20 million. They will just continue, as it will only be about how many robotaxis you can produce. Every single vehicle you make, you can just get it out there on the street, becoming part of the full self-driving fleet. So you don't even really need a buyer anymore. Demand is no longer an issue, and Tesla already makes cars that can become full self-driving at scale. 2 million this year maybe, where Waymo has a fleet of 700. So no one else is ready for the production of autonomous vehicles at scale but Tesla. Something many are not calculating in. So when this start to happen, not only will the EVs be the obvious choice, but even short-haul flight will be disrupted. The demand for oil will drop out of the sky and gas stations will be closing fast, as nobody wants to fill up their polluting ICE car with their expensive gasoline that will go up in price as demand collapses. The death spiral has begun. So I think we will see the death of the ICE car come as a big surprise for all legacy automakers that thinks they have a decade or two to still sell these things. Where I say, I don't think anyone is even going to want to own one in just 1 decade from now.
And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.